Hey everybody, Kay here on the homestead, and I'm so excited because I have a surprise guests today. I didn't know they would be coming, and I've been scrambling to straighten things up, and I've got some breakfast started, and I can't wait to show you. They're so important to all of us, to the homesteading community, and they are visiting me for the first time, and I can't wait to show you. It couldn't be at a better time because I just had the crew here on Friday. The whole place was a prairie. So I can't wait to show you how things look and also show you my guests. So stay tuned. Patch, that's for flowers.
Hell of a hill.
I know.
Do you drive down to get the mail or walk?
I usually just leave it down there till I drive out.
I told Stacy.
You what?
I told Stacy. She said, oh no, she drives. Or she walks down there. I said, oh no, you'll do it a couple times, but then you'll start driving.
There he is! Look!
Hey! She's just walking the dog.
Oh, good. Out there. God, I can't believe you're here.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't leave you hanging.
I know.
I think it's rude when people come to a close proximity and they don't visit. Mount Kilimanjaro. At Kaye, the late bloomer's garden. Hey!
Good to see you. Hey, look who's here!
We made it to the late bloomer garden. All right.
Oh my God, look at you!
All right.
So nice to see you. Somebody said, oh, I saw pictures.
All right, see you guys in a minute.
Hey everybody, look who is here! It's Stacy of Doug and Stacy, Off Grid with Doug and Stacy on YouTube. And they're my best friends on YouTube, and along with me.
Yes, and we've known Kate for a really long time. It's been many years now.
Yeah, I first interviewed them in 2017 at the National Heirloom Expo.
Yeah, in California.
And then I went to see you in 2018. Mm-hmm. We did videos there.
Yep.
Then I went to Hannibal to your conference.
Yes. homesteadinglifeconference.com. There's still a few tickets if you guys are interested.
Yeah, that's August, right?
Yeah, August 7th and 8th, 2022.
Yeah, and then I saw you at the Homesteaders Conference in Virginia.
Right, in October, Homesteaders of America. Yep.
And then they just came from a conference and they're on their way home, and they stopped by. We had a great breakfast.
Farm fresh eggs, homemade einkorn bread, and we even had our fig jam. It was really, really good with some raw cheese, so perfect.
And I said, could you please help me? I was going to make a video about all the mistakes that I made trying to ferment for the first time. And I said, let me get everything out. And now Stacy is here, the expert queen of fermenting, and have her explain what went wrong, what went right, and what I need to do next time.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna kind of go over everything. So if you guys are new to fermenting, or maybe you've been fermenting, you have a few questions, what we got going on here should solve a lot of problems. So we can talk about it. So for sure. So it was your very first time fermenting last season. So she's trying to preserve the harvest. So the one question I asked her, I said, where have you been storing this? And she says, just right under here where she's growing her plants. And just for the whole time, she did not put it in cold storage. So number one, after it's done fermenting, generally if you're gonna do vegetables, it's 10 to 14 days. So once you get done fermenting it, so here she's got some cherry tomatoes.
Can I just say very quickly is after about 3 or 4 weeks, I realized that I had made a lot of mistakes and I was afraid to eat anything, and so I just sort of shelved them and forgot about them.
Okay, so why do you think you made mistakes?
Well, some of them went down, the things went down. Okay. Some of them I used different lids, different kinds of lids, and the ones that are supposed to work really well didn't seem to work. And then I got this white stuff on the okra, and the weight sunk down, and then sometimes it went up, and I don't know.
Okay, So those are probably the same questions you guys all have too. So if you look at a ferment, fermenting is basically controlled decay. So you're controlling the decay because everything is just going to decay, right? So we're controlling it. Oxygen is your enemy. So like sometimes with the fermenting lids, you guys can see this. See how it kind of went down? So now air is getting in there.
Wow, you can see it really went down, both of those.
So these are the lids that you use. Were you burping them?
I was burping
Okay.
those,
Okay.
And then these
Do they
are,
all have fermenting weights on them?
except these, which have their own spring that holds the vegetables down.
Got it.
And they're supposed to burp themselves.
Is that through ball? Yeah, that's got a thing. Oh, those are kind of cool. Maybe for some of you guys that are new to this, I'm going to kind of go over the process just a little bit, and then we'll address all this kind of stuff. So when you're fermenting something, let's say it's tomatoes. So these are cherry tomatoes. You know, you do all that work, you're growing it, or getting it at a farmer's market, or if you belong to a CSA, Community Supported Agriculture, you're going to get your produce that you need. So here we have some tomatoes. She fills up the jar with her tomatoes, and then basically you're just going to make a brine. So here we have tomatoes, here's okra. What do we have here? Is that peppers and carrots? No.
Yes, yes. Peppers and...
Garlic I can see in there, and carrots.
What did I put in there?
There looks like red peppers too.
Yeah, there were peppers and something else.
Well, that's the neat thing about fermenting. You guys can do whatever you want. I like to put herbs in there. So let's say you had peppers and you had carrots or celery or cauliflower. Put some garlic in there, put some herbs in there. You can mix it all up. So she has a variety of different ferments here. And so basically you're going to fill it up. You always want to maintain about 1.5 inches. I always say each little line on your finger is 1 inch. I like to maintain 1.5 inches headspace at the top. Okay? So here's her. They've been sitting a year, huh? Almost a year.
I have an opener.
So here's the thing is these have not been refrigerated, so they've been fermenting the whole time.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when you ferment something, it'll ferment the 10 to 14 days or so, and then you're going to put it in cold storage where it's going to slow down fermentation. So now this has been fermenting the whole time. So when I just did this, it went psst, but it's under a lot of pressure because it's been fermenting.
What do you consider cold storage?
So cold storage is going to be like a root cellar or a refrigerator because you want to just kind of slow down
40,
the process.
at least 40 to 50 at the most.
Totally.
Okay.
I thought I had it.
Let me work on that.
You can work on it. Oh!
Oh,
Get it?
See if you can get that one.
Yeah, that one's not fletching.
Okay. This is really cool.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
a
let's see which one it
my
is.
friend made it. Can you hold it real tight? There we
Oh,
go.
look at it all bubbling. You guys see all the bubbles coming up? Tomatoes, I will tell you guys, you can make homemade salsa, you can do the cherry tomatoes. I like to do the cherry tomatoes with basil leaves, it's so yummy. Tomatoes store very well. Okay, let's see what happened in here. Now, there's no mold or anything in this. She's got the weight on top that kept.
Are you saying they might be good?
No, they smell good. Actually, they're too mushy and gross because of the fermentation process because it just kept fermenting. But the big thing with fermenting, your nose knows, okay? If it might look green, it smells good, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would eat this. I would. It's kind of gross and mushy. I'm not going to eat it because maybe the texture. But honestly, it tastes great. Yeah.
Really?
And this set out without it just here in our house. But generally, what you want to do with the cherry tomatoes, and I will say just from experience, tomatoes have a lot of liquid in them.
Yeah.
So did you guys see how when she did the cherry tomatoes, how much moisture was in here? So when you are doing them at home and you're packing them and you want to have 1.5 inch headspace at the top, I would pack a few more and kind of push them down because you're going to get some extra water.
They're gonna pop. Is that okay?
Yeah, they can pop a little bit.
If you push them down?
You
Okay.
don't mash them like mashed potatoes, but you can put a few more in there.
Okay.
And then you're going to get this liquid or the brine. Now the brine is going to be very wonderful because you can use that A lot of people, they sell them at the store. They're expensive. You can take a shot, you know.
Really?
So that's like a little probiotic. So if you got a little shot glass, you know, if you have a lot of this extra juice, you can use it as a shot.
Okay.
I give a little bit of my juices from my ferments to my dog, you know. Just, you know, I give them a little shot in their dog food, and that kind of helps. They're getting probiotic benefits. I use the juice from the sauerkraut or any of my ferments for salad dressing. So that might be in place of vinegar. Then you can put some oil and maybe some maple syrup or honey to make a nice salad dressing. So don't throw the juice out. I know a lot of people, I had a friend, I taught her how to ferment, and I was over there and she says, oh, it was so good. And then she's getting ready to dump out the juice in the sink. I thought, no, don't do it, don't do it. So make sure you keep your juice, because if you want to jumpstart another ferment, you can do that. So especially with fruit, if you ferment fruit, because I can't say that word, fermenting fruit, it has a lot more sugar content in it. So when fruit is fermenting, you need to do something to jumpstart it so that it won't ferment so quick, because what happens to fruit when you ferment it, it makes wine. So we don't want it to go to alcohol, because it'll start getting that alcohol flavor. So with some, you know, you could use kefir, water kefir, you could use kombucha, you could use whey, something like that. So instead of doing tomatoes, let's say you had a bunch of fresh, like Kaye has blueberries in the back here. So when it's blueberry season, she might want to make lacto fermented blueberries. So you could fill this up with blueberries. Right. And then you can make a little brine of water and some salt. And then you'll put that over it, and then that way I would jumpstart it with a little bit of whey or a little bit of kombucha or water kefir.
So kombucha is liquid, so you would just add enough liquid to still keep the headspace.
I would put 2 tablespoons in for my quart and about 4 tablespoons in for a half gallon. So we have our tomatoes, and then in a half gallon, I'm gonna go ahead and put about 4 teaspoons of salt per quart. So for a half gallon, it would be 8 teaspoons of salt. So what I'm gonna do is I have my tomatoes, they're already in there. So in another jar, I'm gonna go ahead and put my 8 teaspoons of salt, okay? So generally what I do is, if I'm gonna make it in this, the easiest way is I use half of that amount of water, because 1 quart is going to fill up this if I already have it filled with some kind of vegetable. Yeah, okay. I can't put a whole half gallon of water in here, otherwise it'll overflow, right? So that's just like science class when you're in elementary school. So this is filled with my tomatoes, so I only need half the amount of water. So I put my 8 teaspoons of salt in this, and then I'm going to pour this over that.
You just stir it in and then pour it in?
You want to dissolve it, make it into a brine.
Okay.
And then make sure I have 1.5 inch headspace at the top, and then I'm going to put my weight on top. Now these are mason tops. They're like pucks or glass pucks. These are wonderful to use for fermentation. If you don't have a mason tops, you can go ahead and get a rock. You can go out and find some river rock, you know, nice brown ones that'll fit on top here. You can also use pieces of vegetables. So like, let's say you had a pepper. You can cut off a big piece of pepper and shove it in there, because you want to keep the vegetable under the brine. It's very important that you keep it under the brine. So then go ahead and put it on there. So I either have my weight, my rock, or my vegetable over it. And then with tomatoes, you're just going to put the lid on like that. If I put a flat on here in a ring, I'm going to let it set for like 10 to 14 days, and then I'm going to need to burp it every day, because you have to let out the gases that have been building up in the ferment. If I don't want to do that and I have a fermentation top, I would use one of these. Can I take these off?
Yep, yes.
Okay, so here's another version. It's a lid, and it has a spring, so this is going to push it down also. So you can use that as a weight, the rock, or the puck, or a piece of vegetable. Okay, so it's on there.
What if the weight, I think in this one I don't see the weight. I have a feeling, yeah, it's at the bottom. So if it slips down, then how can you fix that?
It's got a lot of water in it, so that could happen. So possibly if you're doing the tomatoes, because that might happen more in a tomato, you might want to use a different type of, like maybe put a piece of vegetable all over the top, like the,
Okay.
like the pepper. Certain things like this that has the okra.
I mean,
is
I
not
really
going
crammed
anywhere.
them in there.
And that's okay. See, I cram mine, like all these, for me, I put a lot more in there so that my
Yeah.
vegetables are all the way at the top, so I don't have
They
all that
were,
liquid.
but they,
Because they have a lot of moisture in them,
Yeah.
but I mean, you can pack them in there pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
You can pack them in there pretty good.
Okay.
And they've also been sitting quite a while.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And they just keep fermenting and getting softer and softer. So what I would basically do is, once it's all done, and you decide what kind of lid you're gonna use, so you burp it every day, and then after your 10 to 14 days, you wanna take the lid off, you wanna look at it, you wanna smell it, does it smell good? Actually, this does smell fine. And then what you're gonna do is you'll take off your weight, you'll take off the piece of pepper, you'll take off the spring, whatever's in there, and then I'll put a regular lid on, and then I need to place it into cold storage. So while it's fermenting for the 10 to 14 days, you need to make sure that it is out of direct sunlight, so I don't wanna stick it out like in a window somewhere. I usually put my ferments when they're fermenting somewhere where I can see them in my kitchen. If you put it on top of your refrigerator, or I put it like on, I have a wood burning cook stove, I put them there on the shelf, and then that way I'll see them, or even in front of my sink, I have a little shelf so that I can monitor it, because things start happening to your ferment in that 10 to 14 days
Yeah.
that sometimes happen, sometimes they don't happen, and you want to monitor it and nip it in the bud right away just to make sure. So your lid, you took it off, you smell it, everything is great, there's nothing looking crazy on it, there's no green mold, no black mold, there's no sliminess, everything is looking good. So I go ahead and I'm going to taste it. So we tasted this one, it tastes great, everything's wonderful. My lid's on, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator now, and then I'm going to enjoy this. So I can have the tomatoes if I want them with crackers and cheese, or if I want to put them on a salad, or eat them with a sandwich, or however. And so that's done. Now over here,
Yeah.
here is her okra. Now if you guys can see, there is like a white film.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
All right, so what we call that is chyme yeast, K-A-H-M. It's a harmless yeast, because if you would ingest it, it's not gonna hurt you. But a lot of times that occurs if there's something wrong. Maybe it got too much oxygen to it. It looks like a lot of the liquid has evaporated there, so it could have developed. When I smelled it, remember I say to always smell it, it kind of smells like I'm at Anheuser-Busch at the brewery. I can smell the yeast, you know, and it smells very yeasty. So this is gonna ruin the taste of this ferment. Actually, if I cleaned this off and I, you know, maybe took a few of the top ones off, these ones in the bottom will probably, they'll be fine. But what it does is if you don't address that chyme yeast, usually let's say you get it within the first week or so, I would get a paper towel and I would wipe it off and clean it up really good, maybe take away some of the top pieces, and then put the lid back on and let it keep fermenting if I haven't gotten my full 10 to 14 days. And then go ahead after that time and then take the puck off your weight, put your regular lid on and put it back into cold storage.
Okay.
But what happens is if you leave the chyme yeast on, it's going to keep developing that yeasty flavor, and it's just going to mess it up. Because the cool thing about fermentation is you get that wonderful tangy, kind of tart. It changes the flavor profile of something. Like I just did a workshop this past weekend at the Tennessee Homestead Weekend for Homesteaders of America, and it was interesting because I had a lot of people, I had a lot of samples on the tables, and I had beets, and I can't tell you, I had over 5 people tell me that they don't like beets, and then they tasted it, and they said, I like these, I will eat these, because it does change it a lot, like especially a radish. A radish has a very bitter flavor, but when you ferment it, it kind of takes that out, and you get a little bit of that kind of spicy, tart, tangy kind of flavor, and the texture's good. You know, it's got a little crunch to it, so that's really good, especially like onions and garlic. They have a big bite to them, but when you ferment it, it will mellow it and just maybe expands the flavors, and it makes food even taste better. So this I would not probably eat, but let's see. Yeah, see, it's just kind of white, chalky. So the note here is if you're fermenting and you see this chyme yeast, I can't tell you the amount of people are like, oh my gosh, I ruined it, and they throw it out. If you catch it early on and you clean it up really nice, generally you can have a fine ferment, and that would be the one you would eat first.
So we've covered two things. The big thing is storage, cold storage after 10 to 14 days.
When you're doing because if you're doing a fruit, it's not as long.
Okay.
If you ferment fruit and you've jump started it like we were talking about earlier with some whey or kombucha or water kefir, can't think, you can go ahead and let it set about 3 days because it will ferment very quickly.
Okay.
So it only takes 3 days to do a fruit ferment, and then you put it in cold storage. But it needs to be cooled down so that it will stop the fermentation process because your flavors are going to definitely change. See how this lid kind of went down? If I can open it.
I just assumed when the lid went down that it was ruined.
No, because you have that liquid. So now when I look at this,
Ooh.
well, because it's been sitting so long.
Yeah.
So honestly, this liquid, this would all have been good. There's a little time yeast in here. There's a little mold because it was at the top because the lid had kind of went down. But over time, what happens sometimes if there was anything on here, like this was wet possibly when you put it on, I'm really careful. I like to really clean around the edges. And if you have sometimes too much liquid at the top while it's fermenting, it might get sucked down. So watch your ferment. So sometimes if I start to see that happen and it starts to go down, I just kind of pull it up like this, and it's fine. Or you might need to take this off, wipe the edges a little bit if you have too much liquid at the top, because that condensation, if the liquid's too high at the top, it's going to pull it down.
Oh, okay.
And that looks like you have a lot of liquid in here, and that's probably what happened. But then if that does happen and it kind of comes down and you're like, oh my gosh, my stuff's exposed, just take it out and fix it. Wipe
See,
it off.
I was thinking it's ruined. You
can fix it because she's got all this liquid on top, so it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And this kind of has a kind of an icky odor. It's not too bad. I mean, I would taste this, and it's not gonna. I don't think it would mess with me. But you can see on the vegetables, there's a lot of chyme yeast like on top of them.
No, I'm not tasting that.
Yeah, no. You know, if you're not sure, don't taste it.
Yeah,
But generally, these have literally been sitting out, like just sitting out.
6 months.
Yeah.
6 months.
But yeah, you could definitely use your tomatoes.
Okay, good to know.
All right, so let's see what else we got.
I'm thinking this might be a possibility. I don't see any chyme yeast in it.
Well, I'm going to show you here. We got a little mold on this one.
That one,
thing.
for sure, it's got the white.
Yeah. I want to show you some good mold if we got it.
Okay. Oh, there's some good mold. That's black.
Oh, here. Yeah, here, I got it. This one's good. There's some.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
here, there's some mold on this one. So around the edges at the top, too. And then there's some powdery kind of moldy stuff on this one. It doesn't smell that bad, you know, I mean.
It looks gross.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. But once you clean it up,
yeah.
see, you have all this liquid that's protected it also too. But when you have the black and green mold, generally, you know, you have to be a little careful.
Yeah.
Okay? And what's
I
this
will.
one? So here, the fermenting lid got sucked in. If I've been watching it, let's say it happened after 8 days or something, I would have just taken it off and cleaned it up and put it back on, and it would be fine.
Okay.
Okay? Now this is disgusting.
Yeah, it looks
Now
bad.
these smell good, and honestly, this wouldn't hurt you.
Okay.
This is disgusting. It smells bad. I would not touch it. It's different color.
Yeah.
It looks like
It's gray.
it's totally contaminated. So yeah, this is bad. So that one's okay.
Okay.
This one has a little bit of mold on top of it. There's some little pieces of black mold, and when I picked it up, they dropped down in the bottom of it. Yeah. And it kind of has an icky smell.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want that one either.
Okay.
What else do we have? Where's
Oh,
the
yeah,
one you
that
said
does
was
smell
good?
good. That one looks pretty
Yeah.
good.
I think
And this one.
there might be some. See here? We got a little mold.
There's black mold in here. Those are. Yeah.
Ugh.
Do you need this? You need this?
Yeah. Hey, we got it.
Oh,
Maybe. All right. This one smells great.
Good.
Yeah. The only thing is when you are fermenting.
That does smell good.
Yeah. The one thing, you know, we open this up and it looks good. It smells good. But since it didn't get into cold storage and it's been a while, these are peppers. They're going to be very, very mushy. So with it sitting so long, not being cooled off, like especially the tomatoes, they're just very mushy. And then these peppers are going to be very mushy. And that's one thing when you look at hot peppers are wonderful to ferment. It will cut the bite down a little bit where they won't be quite as bad. See, they're very, very squishy. Okay, they've been sitting out, not refrigerated. They're actually very good. They're a little squishy, but the skins are tough. And actually fermenting this long, yeah, they're not bad at all. I would transfer this in another, because it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
I would transfer it in another jar.
Okay.
Yeah, so these have not been refrigerated at all. And if I'm here tomorrow, it's okay, right?
You can kind of tell the brine is more clear, and all the ones that you've said are not good.
Yeah, because they have a lot of yeast in them.
Very cloudy.
Come on, Kay. Oh my gosh. The really good one we can't get open. There you go. How's it smell? That smells really good.
That smells good.
Would you like to taste it?
Yeah.
Are these what are they?
The same thing as the last one.
What do you think?
It's strong.
Is it?
But it's good.
It's not a spicy one, is it?
Mm-mm. Okay. The hot one, no. Mm-mm. We got two, and
Yeah,
I'll transfer.
or like it, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What's this one? So we only got. No, I don't even think we need to open this. It's got black.
No, that's
Yeah.
yucky. That's yucky.
Yeah.
So we went over to make sure you put something to push it down underneath the brine. Very, very important. Make sure you have an 1.5 inch headspace at the top, because what's going to happen sometimes. Did you have any ever overflow? Did you have that?
Yeah.
happen?
Oh, yeah. It spilled so many times.
Yeah. So that's why you need to make sure you have an 1.5 inch, and especially if you're using fresh garden produce, it's going to be full of water.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, especially like the tomato, or look at what you're, like if you put in cucumbers in there, like for fermented cucumbers, if you're going to make, you know, a fermented cucumber, I like to do whole cucumbers, because a lot of times if you slice them, sometimes they'll get a little more mushy. So I'll use the whole, like when you were a kid, you remember going into like the deli, and then they have the big jar sitting at the deli.
So you don't peel it. You don't peel it.
No, you just cut off the blossom end, and then you put them whole. You don't want to have big ones, you want to have little ones, and you're going to put them, I like to put them either in half-gallon or gallon jars.
Okay.
And then a pickle or a cucumber is filled with water, so you're going to need a lot more salt. Okay? So it sounds like a lot, but you know, you're going to need quite a few tablespoons of salt to go in there. So usually if I'm going to do my pickles, let's say I'm putting some pickles in a half-gallon or so, you know, I might put 6 tablespoons of salt in this, because it's going to soak in, that brine's going to soak in the
Pickle, the cucumber.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just let it soak, and you can put it in with peppercorns or mustard seeds, or if you want to use dill pickles and garlic, you know, do it however you want, and then it's really good.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then just remember to leave the headspace, watch it. If you start to see it overflow, no big deal. Just pour a little bit of it off at the top, because after a couple days it's going to start producing more liquid, and then you'll go ahead and clean it up and then put the lid back on it.
Okay.
Because sometimes if you don't address these problems in the beginning, then they're going to turn into this, and then they'll get gross, and you're like, oh my gosh, I did all that work and I don't have anything, and then you don't do it anymore. So keep it where you can see it.
Yep.
So I like to sprout seeds. I do sprouting, or if I have my kombucha or something that I need to monitor and watch, I stick it right there where it's with my eyes are able to look at it and fix it if I have a problem. just get it, nip it in the bud, clean it up, and it'll be fine.
For some reason, I thought, you know, once you had the thing on, all you could do is burp it and let a little air out, but you couldn't take the lid off.
You're gonna have a nice brine over it, and you're cleaning it up, you'll be fine. Just
Okay.
do it really quick. You know, don't go there sticking your hands in there. And you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can use like a nice clean spoon if you need to take something out. Go ahead and do that, and it should be fine.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really not too hard. I mean, basically, for some of you guys, if it's your first time, if you got some carrots and just chopped up some carrots and chopped up some onions and chopped up a few pieces of garlic, threw it in there in a quart jar. In a quart jar, I would do 4 teaspoons of unrefined salt. Make sure it's unrefined. You don't want to use regular table salt because that can ruin your ferment. You need a good unrefined salt. I like real salt. My Red Bin is the
Yeah.
best. You can go to offgridwithdougandstacy.com and you can get a discount if you want to, and go to the shop tab and you can buy it in bulk like Kaye and I do, right?
Yep, I've got a 10-year supply of salt. Well, if I start fermenting, I might use it
Yeah,
up.
you'll use a lot more.
I hope.
And so basically you'll just go ahead and you know, put your carrots and your onions and your garlic in there, and if you want to put some herbs, you can put some dill in there. And then if you want the easy way, just throw in 4 teaspoons of salt. Put your water in there. Make sure your water is filtered water. It can be well water. You don't want to have tap water because it has chlorine in it and it could mess up the ferment. Okay? And then once it's in there, you can put a flat and a ring on top of it like so. Shake it up. That's the easy way of doing it. You can shake it up and then go ahead and put your, you know, one of these or
Your weight.
this on top of it. Right. And then
I gotta say, I didn't love the spring so much because it pushes the vegetables so far down. But I don't know.
yeah,
I actually,
I don't like this.
I like,
as much
I
either.
prefer these. You know.
I'm a Mason Tops girl. so yeah, I would put that on there, and then you got it going on. I mean, it's really not that hard to do, and then just all you have to do is wait. So basically, it doesn't take that long to cut it up.
And also, I had a question about these because I bought these because they burp themselves.
Yes.
But I saw all this pressure coming up, and I thought it's not burping itself.
It's because you had too much liquid.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you get too much liquid, it's going to look like it's going to explode. So then what I do is I would take this off too. Make sure you rinse it off and clean it up really
Clean it
good.
up.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. No. And so
There.
don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ferment. You can do it.
They're literally out the door leaving for a long drive. So we're just so happy that, or I'm so happy
Yeah.
that they were able to stop by and see my place for the first time. They've never been here.
Oh, she's done such a good job. I can't believe all the work. I know you've been going through a lot and doing a lot of work, and it looks gorgeous over
First
here.
thing Doug says is, "Oh, I would excavate all this. Get a bulldozer in here."
Oh boy.
I'd like to. Actually, he's got a great idea.
Well, just little, you know, baby steps. Remember, anything else, just like even like with fermenting, you know,
Yeah.
you have to take one thing at a time,
yeah, that's what I
and then
tried to
kind
do.
of get good
Yeah.
at it, and then you'll be fine. But this is really, it's not too hard.
I can't wait to try it this year. I just hope I have enough produce.
Oh, you have way too much produce.
I
That'll be
hope
easy.
that's the problem I have. And you know, but I hope to grow a lot of okra, so I'd really like to try a pickled okra. I mean, I don't know, a fermented okra.
Well,
It's
I'm
not
going to say
pickled, right?
we need to take. Yeah, there's a difference. We can keep
Difference
talking.
between-
There's a difference between like when you say pickling and I guess lacto fermenting. When you talk about a pickle, when you pickle something, it's usually using like an acid medium, like vinegar. And then you'll add something to it. Sometimes you have sweet pickles, or you'll put seasonings and spices, and you're going to heat it up. So then when you heat it up, you're going to pour that hot liquid over it, and it's going to destroy a lot of the enzymes of the actual plant. When you ferment something, you are going to keep it, it's a raw food. You're going to actually enhance a lot of the vitamins when you ferment it, lacto fermented, where you're going to have you know, extra amount, you know, more B vitamins, more vitamin C, your amino acids and your proteins. It makes it more bioavailable so that you're able to digest it and assimilate it better because all the fibers and stuff have been broken down.
Okay.
It's great because you are getting probiotics, and probiotics means good bacteria, so it's putting good bacteria into your body. As opposed
And as
to,
we get older, we definitely need that.
yeah, after 50, really, you're not able to, you know, you have a lot of dysfunction from the foods and everything that we've eaten over our lives. So it's good to put the good bacteria back into our bodies because we have good and bacteria that live happily in our bodies, trillion of them. Unfortunately, with the SAD diet, standard American diet that we have, people have too many bad bacteria, and that's when you start having health issues, digestive issues, cancers, disease, sickness, all that starts to happen. So if we can get our gut healthy by having a tablespoon or two of these fermented vegetables, it really can help so tremendously, a lot. And a lot of this fermented food, especially sauerkraut, is really helpful for digestive problems like ulcers and irritable bowel syndrome and colitis and things like that.
So if you can't make your own sauerkraut and they go and buy sauerkraut in a jar, like the Amish sell sauerkraut, is that more like a pickled thing, or is that actually a lacto-fermented thing?
You need to ask, because like if you see it, if you go to the store, a lot of people are like, oh, most people are like, I can't stand sauerkraut. It's usually the kind that has been canned, where they make it and then they can it with high heat. It's going to destroy all the nutrition from it because it's not a live food anymore.
And it's very vinegary.
Right, and it's not, and a lot of times it'll be really salty. And so you need to read your labels. The only time I would buy a sauerkraut is like if you went to the store and you went into the refrigerated section and it says on there live.
Yes, I wanted to show you this real quick.
It'll say live probiotics, live food, raw food. It has not been pasteurized.
I just found this because Stacy's always saying, you know, if you just have a little bit of fermented food every day, then it really helps your gut. And I saw
see,
this
it says
product,
live and raw probiotics. Okay.
and I just found that, and it sounded really good.
Yeah, and it just has carrots, salt, and cabbage.
And thyme.
Yeah, and that's it.
And I bought a beet one, and I finished that, and that was really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
So if you're gonna buy it, just make sure that it's not, you know, been canned, it's been pasteurized, because that's kind of going what you want. You want this live probiotics. You want that good stuff into your diet, and you don't want to eat it. You'll eat it and it'll be like, oh, this is so good. Don't eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
You want to just start with a tablespoon or so, you know, so your body gets used to it, because you're putting a lot of that good bacteria in your gut, and you don't want to, you know, you might get bloated. I know a lot of people like, these were so good, and they ate the whole jar, and then the whole night, you know, they were all bloated and gassy. So, you know, your body has to get used to that because you're putting that good stuff in. And the neat thing about it is, you know, like let's say you're canning a lot of the food from the garden. Those foods, you know, there's nothing against that, you know, because you are going to destroy some of the nutrients in the foods, but you're going to get the vitamins from it. But it's not going to be as healthful as a fermented food, and you're not going to need to eat as much of it because it's got so much in it.
Yeah.
Our diet.
Well, and also I thought, you know, where you are in Missouri, out in the plains, you know, you can't always have fresh vegetables in the winter. However, if you've got your fermented foods, I mean, it's like eating a fresh vegetable.
Right.
In the winter.
Yeah, and then I do, and I'll ferment everything, and then that's what I go down and get. It's like, what do I feel like? So what I'll do is I'll keep, you know, I make condiments too. You can have mustard and ketchup. You know, there's so many different little things you can do it. And a mustard and ketchup, like making ketchup, only takes 3 days. It's so simple.
Wow.
So
we'll have to do another video.
Yeah. We could talk for hours about fermentation. But it's not just sauerkraut. People think fermenting food is sauerkraut. I don't like sauerkraut, but you need to try. And everyone that took my workshop yesterday was like, I didn't like sauerkraut until I tasted yours. Because when you make it homemade, it's amazing. It's so
I can't wait.
It has a wonderful taste to it. It's really good. And I have to say I like mine better than the store-bought. Even those are good. I think mine has a little more flavor, because I like to add lots to it, a lot of garlic and onions and lots of herbs and all that. And it's just good. And you guys can experiment and do what you like, and even try things maybe you don't like, because it could still change how it tastes, because the actual final product will be a little different.
Hey everybody, be sure to leave a comment below if you enjoyed the video and if you'd like to see more videos like this. And thank you so much for watching, and it's so great to have them here today. Look forward to more videos coming up from my garden, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, scroll down and click all so you won't miss anything.
You don't want to miss anything.
Be sure and check out Off Grid with Doug and Stacy if you haven't already.
Or check out homesteadinglifeconference.com and maybe come see us in Missouri, in Hannibal, Missouri, at our conference this year.
And I'm sure you'll be doing sprouting and fermenting, right?
Oh, of course, yes. And actually, on our channel, I just did a sprouting video.
Okay,
on
great.
Sprouting. Yeah, I just did that.
I need to watch that.
And there's one on there about like fermenting carrots for beginners. So if you're not sure, you can check that
Here
out
comes
too.
Doug. He's giving us the
ready to
high
go.
sign. We
Yeah.
gotta go. Thank you so much for watching.
See ya.